Good morning, folks. How are you doing? Today is the 27th day of November, 2024. It is about quarter till 9, 10 till 9, 10 till 5 minutes just gone somehow. It's about 10 minutes till 9 in the morning. It's going to be overcast. It's foggy outside in Tampa, Florida. I got two quick videos to make for you. I'm going to make them specific to these, to one topic each. And so there'll be shorter videos for you. But before I start, we're doing a Twitter Spaces thing again tonight at 5 o'clock. We were going to do it Thursday, but that's Thanksgiving, and people will be lying around if people celebrate Thanksgiving. Not everyone celebrates Thanksgiving, obviously, and it's Gabby. Gabby's looking forward to Thanksgiving. She likes Thanksgiving. One of her faves. I put Mom's tree up in the window. The first thing she did was try to spray it. Oops. Sorry. So first thing she did, she goes, "Hey, that's something new. It doesn't smell like my urine. I'll spray it." Oh, God, Jesus. Yeah. So some change is going to be taking place here relatively soon, so I thought I'd, ow, that hurts. What are you doing? You're mean. You're just so mean. We'll talk about this later. Twitter Spaces. Let's see if we can get, I'm going to try to break that fucking record. Right now our record is at 8 people watching, attending the thing. At least we can get 9. Here's the deal. Not everybody is on Twitter. Not everybody is on YouTube, but you can watch YouTube without being signed in. You can go to a YouTube link and watch a YouTube, even a YouTube live thing. I was going to pull up my YouTube channel, but I forgot to pull it up, so I'm not going to pull it up now. However, take my word for it. I'm at about 944 subscribers. If I can get to 1,000, then what I can do is I can do live. We can do the Twitter Spaces thing, which the thing about that is it's live, and you can chime in and say hi if you want, ask questions, even talk. I would rather be doing that on something like YouTube Live. So here's the deal. I'm not going to be able to monetize my channel ever. I'm not going to put commercials on my channels ever. YouTube might. BitChute certainly does. I don't make a nickel from them. I'm not going to make a nickel from them. Because my content wouldn't be suitable for corporate fucking sponsorship in the first goddamn place, and that's just fine with me. However, I need to get to 1,000 subs in order to go live. I believe. I'm pretty sure. So if you guys are not subbed to the YouTube channel, please go to the YouTube channel and sub to that. It doesn't cost you anything. Again, it's not about money. I'm not trying to make money here. I just want to get to that threshold where I can go live, and then we can, instead of doing the Twitter Spaces thing with 8 people being able to show up, we could be able to get, a larger audience and get more input and more feedback from you guys. And you can comment and have chats in the comment section during the live broadcast. Anyway, please keep that in mind. Also, don't forget, for those of you in the area, in British Columbia, around Vancouver and Abbotsford, Aunt BB is still, I believe, doing the live meetups. She has a Facebook thing. I'll post something to that. I should have got the screenshot from her Facebook page, but you can go to her Twitter thing, or you can come to the Twitter thing this evening and ask her about it directly, and she'll provide the links to it. I'm sure she'll talk about it and provide links for it as well at that. She's still doing that in support of Palestine, and it's kind of like a live meetup thing. And it's good to talk to people and sit down and have conversations face to face. about these things rather than doing it online. But if you happen to be in the area, she's still doing that. She did one this past Sunday in the area of Abbotsford, and she will be continuing to do that, I think, this coming Sunday. I think. We'll find out. This video. Quickly, I'm just going to... What I'll do is I'll read what I wrote, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards. I wrote this morning. Lindsey Graham commits an act of terrorism to protect genocidal Benjamin Netanyahu. We are a thug state run by corporate mobsters. We pretend to care about human rights and the rule of law, but in reality, all we care about is the stock market's bottom line and keeping our puppet dictators in power and out of prison. Let me stop right there. I watched Secretary of State Blinken trying to hold a presser yesterday. He was asked a number of questions that he didn't feel comfortable with. But all of his whole demeanor, I hate... During the Obama days and the lead up to the first election with him in 2008, I just looked at him and I could see he was just a slicker version, a fake left slicker version of George W. Bush. And I knew that. And this is not hindsight. I was kicked out of websites that I fucking helped build because I was telling people this before the election. I was the wet blanket. I was the turd in the punch bowl. People who can't see it, it irritates me. I can look at someone like Barack Obama, George W. Bush, lesser so with Donald Trump, but I'll explain that in a minute, Anthony Blinken. I can look at these people, and I can feel the wave of insincerity, this manufactured persona that they try to fucking present, where they can't be held accountable because they're saying the right things and they're looking the right way and they're acting the right way and they're hitting the right fucking emphasis, but it's all fraudulent. George W. Bush was the most obvious. Blinken's probably second. Then there's Barack Obama. Donald Trump, less so, because I believe that Donald Trump, he will vacillate. When he was talking his populist game in 2015, he believed it. When he said, don't get pissed off at the Bernie Sanders supporters because they're very much the same as us, he believed it. He's become something different, but now he's not even really trying to hide his Project 2025 fascist fucking ideology. So he's a different case. He's a different case study. Dick Cheney's a different case study. Ronald Reagan's a different case study. Clinton's a different case study. But when I saw Blinken talking yesterday, it's offensive to me, because you can look at how leaders of Hezbollah, look at how leaders of Iran, look at how leaders of France now, look at how leaders of Russia and China, look at how they speak of Palestine. Look at how they speak of the many leaders who have spoken up at the United Nations Security Council from all sorts of countries, including Guyana, including South Africa, including Malaysia and Turkey. These are people who are not trying to present as something while being something else. You can see it. These are legitimate leaders of nations who believe in what they are saying. But us and Trudeau and Sturmer and all this westernized neoliberal, corporatist, monolithic, unipolar world, the ones who are ruled by the corporations as opposed to international law and the will of the people, they stand out. I tell people it's like this. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you see it in one, you'll see it in others. You know, once I saw it in George W. Bush, when Barack Obama came, and the Clintons, when Barack Obama came on the scene, to me it was clear as fucking day. And it frustrates me when people can't. So, just to that end with Anthony Blinken. Let's get back to this real quick. Lindsey Graham was talking to Sean Hannity the other day, and he suggested if any of our allies in the world were to honor the international rule of law by upholding the ICC arrest warrants against Netanyahu or Gallant, we should make their economies scream because, in the end, they could be coming for us next. Quote from MSNBC. During an interview with Fox News, Sean Hannity on Friday, Graham warned, you're going to have to pick the rogue ICC versus America. He's got those reversed. I'm working with Tom Cotton to have legislation passed as soon as we can to sanction any country that aids and abets the arrest of any politician in Israel. No matter what they fucking do, you can't touch any politician in Israel. What they're doing in Israel is trying to prevent a second Holocaust. That's right. Toss out the Holocaust. Out comes the Holocaust card. So, to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC, we're going to sanction you. When Hannity asked what the penalty should be, Graham replied, we should crush your economy. Make the economy scream. Because we're next. Why can't they go after Trump or any American president under this theory? This theory. Theory, by the way, the theory he's talking about is careful consideration and, I mean, piles of evidence supplied by several different nations, neutral nations, not Palestine, not fucking Hezbollah, not fucking Lebanon, not Syria, not Iran, neutral nations, and of course, internal investigations within the United Nations themselves, proving that what's happening is a genocide. It's being fucking facilitated by Yoav Gallant and, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu. Many more should be charged in Israel. This is what he's talking about, this theory of his. This is the International Criminal Court. And, of course, the International Court of Justice. And, by the way, a United Nations fucking investigation into this they've all returned the same fucking conclusions. And this is his theory he's talking about. That's Lindsey Graham, a fucking warmongering neocon. One might respond that the International Criminal Court can't go after Donald Trump or any other American president unless they commit a crime against humanity. The aforementioned Cotton offered an ominous threat of his own, referencing a 2002 law signed by President George W. Bush. The ICC is a kangaroo court and Kareem Khan is a deranged fanatic, he wrote on X. Woe to him and anyone who tries to enforce these outlaw warrants. Let me give them all a friendly reminder. The American law on the ICC is known as the Hague Invasion Act for a reason. Think about it. End quote. That's Tom Cotton. There's a reason. There's a reason that we are not part of the ICC, because we know what our foreign policy is. We know what we do. as a fine example of what we do in that fucking quote itself. I'll talk about it in a second. It rhymes with terrorism, but it's completely different. But there's a reason that this ICC law, known as the Hague Invasion Law, is dated 2002. And it was brought about by the Bush administration, which was really being run by a guy by the name of Dick Cheney, who was part of the American Enterprise Institute and the Vulcans, and was planning this foreign policy of the George W. Bush's, starting in 1998 with Condi Rice and a bunch of neocons from the American Enterprise Institute, who, by the way, wrote the project for, not the project for New American, well, it was part of a project for the New American Century, but they wrote this white paper called Rebuilding America's Forces, and it was released on September 10th, 2000, exactly 366 days before 9/11, and it called for a new Pearl Harbor type event in order to push this fascist power grab, this Pax Americana, in order to make it, facilitate it being rushed into fruition. And of course, they were the ones in charge of all the protection on September 11th, 2001. Draw your own fucking conclusions. So what was the Hague Invasion Act? It was thug state fucking politics. Don't you dare look too closely into what happened on September 11th, 2001, and don't you dare look at what's going to happen in Iraq and Afghanistan to follow. Don't you look at us going on the dark side and torturing people and removing people and invading countries because we say so. Don't think about that. Otherwise, we'll invade The Hague. And that's literally what it said. So that's what Tom Cotton is threatening, to invade a country that's our ally. This is happening right now in defense of a genocidal fucking Jewish supremacist, Benjamin Netanyahu. Let me continue with what I wrote now. We are not a signatory on the ICC. There's about 120 nations that are, because our foreign policy is usually criminal in nature and we don't want our corrupt leaders arrested when they travel. Graham, threatening even our allies, makes it easy to understand why so many countries are opting out of our unipolar world order and opting instead for BRICS, which is why our glorious leaders hate BRICS so much and why their fake alt-minions in the alternative media sphere do as well. It undermines our control of other states, which affects Wall Street's bottom line, a.k.a. our national interests. So it's a rather telling glimpse into our global structure when we see an idiot like Graham say the quiet part out loud in the chat on live TV. This is why BRICS is winning, because they built a better mousetrap. Also of note is his explanation for us why we have to threaten allies in order to protect a genocidal Jewish supremacist who is currently ethnic cleansing Palestine, both in Gaza and the West Bank, because they could next come for us. Sorry, as you see, as I pointed out before, Biden and members of our political and military structure here in the United States could easily be charged as accomplices to genocide, which is a very serious crime. There are a lot, even in our legal system, being found guilty of being an accomplice, not after the fact, but before the fact and after the fact. We protect them now. Lindsey Graham could be an accomplice after the fact, and before the fact is still going on. So just doing that, he could be charged with being an accomplice in the United States under our law. And if Bibi Netanyahu or Yoav Gallant are sentenced to death, so too could Lindsey Graham. That's just a thing. Let me stop for 1 second. And I want to say this. People have pointed out to me, understandably, When I wrote before about U.S. Code 18, that's exactly what could happen. That's why the State Department can't say someone's committing genocide. Oh no, you can't say they're committing genocide, because if they're committing genocide and we've been aiding them according to our own laws, forget ICC, forget international law, even according to our own laws, our own U.S. code, these individuals could be, if convicted, could be sentenced to the exact same crime, to the exact same punishment as those leaders who are committing genocide, would be convicted, and that would be death. So of course, they're not. People rightly said to me, "Well, Scott, you can't prosecute a president. He's not going to be president forever." And then they said, "Well, Scott, that never happened." So, and there could be all kinds of presidents who could have been charged with this. But it's never happened yet, so it's not going to happen. There was never a black president in this country until there was. Humans never understood the joy and the freedom of flight until they did. Back in the day, if we had a problem, if we were going to be late, we didn't know what the fuck was going on, we had to run and find a fucking metal box with a light in it and a little door that you would close and have some change in your hand. Point I'm trying to make here is just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen. One day, in the overall scheme of things, not really that long ago, the very first African American walked into a fucking polling station, walked up to the fucking box, pulled the curtain behind them. Him, at that time, it was probably a him, and cast that very first vote. Just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't. And where would we be if surgeons in their training had always been taught that just because there had never been a heart transplant, there never would be a heart transplant, because it's just not possible? Where would we be? Where would we be if, because there hadn't been a smallpox vaccine, nobody ever thought that there could be a smallpox vaccine? The future is made by people who see the possibility, not of what is, but of what should be and what could be. Continuing, there are a lot of things that our leaders, past, present, and certainly future, could be charged with by the ICC. Take terrorism, for instance. Threatening to make their economies scream if other countries don't do what we want politically is technically terrorism, since the pain of the economic collapses will certainly be felt mostly by that nation's civilians. When you commit violence or the threat of violence, and economic devastation is considered violence due to how it affects the society and the infrastructure, against the people of a nation in order to make changes to them socially, economically, or politically, that, by definition, is terrorism. That's terrorism. Ergo, Lindsey Graham committed an act of terror against a number of our own allies in order to protect genocidal Benjamin Netanyahu. That is my argument. That is this video. And I stand by that. It's an act of terrorism being committed. You say, well, Scott, he's not the president. He's Lindsey Graham. He's a long-standing member of the fucking United States Congress. He's a senator. He's well-connected. He's also well-connected in the military-industrial complex. He's well-connected in terms of our foreign policy. And he's on a live Fox News broadcast, which is broadcast in places like France, in places like fucking Canada, in places like Mexico. Threatening the people of those countries. Saying, if your fucking government does this to our genocidal buddy, we're going to make your economy scream. You'll be out of jobs, you'll be out of work, you'll have inflation out the yin-yang. Your comfortable little life right now will be fucking gone forever. That's terrorism. Lindsey Graham committed an act of terrorism live on fucking Fox TV in order to protect a man who was actively committing genocide and ethnic cleansing in Palestine. That is our thug state. That is how we do foreign policy. And that, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, in and of itself, is a perfect explanation for why nation states increasingly more and more closely aligned with us are starting to seriously consider, you know what, screw this, screw NATO, we're going to sign up with BRICS. Because BRICS nations don't do this. BRICS nations don't use their control of the US dollar as the reserve currency in the world to threaten to cripple and impoverish and set into the Great Depression other countries around the world if they don't do what we want, what the United States wants, what Israel wants. You don't defend genocidal maniac in fucking Israel, we'll fuck your people. Your people will be standing in bread lines. That's literally what he was saying. That's literally what he was saying. And there's no, he doesn't try to say that it's not genocide. He doesn't even try to say it's not genocide. He just doesn't give a shit that it is genocide against Palestinians. Now, you can say that's because, for whatever reason you want to say. Whatever reason you want to say. I'm not going to presuppose anything to that fucking piece of shit's thought process. I'm just going by what he said and what he didn't say. But that's how we do foreign policy. That's how we've been trying to influence nations for a very long time in order to force them to do what we want. And the rest of the world is sick of it. So, I mean, thanks to Lindsey Graham and others like him and Tom Cotton and others like him and the Bidens administration, thanks to all that, are we going to see France? Are we going to see fucking Canada? Are we going to see Mexico's already in the process? Are we going to see all of our fucking allies switching over to fucking BRICS and leaving us alone with fucking Israel and Palau or some shit like that? Very possible. We are a thug state. We are ruled by thugs. We are ruled by corporate fucking sycophants and yes men who see themselves as some kind of fucking Sopranos fucking, characters ruling the world with an iron fist. or in Lindsey's case, a velvet fucking glove. But they don't. They're not going to. They're never going to. This is pomp and circumstance. This is an old man yelling at the fucking storm. Because change is coming. Change is coming. There was a time when nobody thought that they could tell the fucking emperor he was buck fucking naked. Those days are over. Don't be the last one to jump off that fucking train, boys and girls. I thank you for your time.